Happy Monday, November 2nd. Welcome to our NCAA football opening line show here on odds.com. We are ready to rock, break down the card. Our experts have picked the favorite games they want to attack as well. We will attack every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday game as we've been doing, and we celebrate a little Maction. Thank you guys so much for joining us. First off, to our experts, how you guys doing? Let's start with John Ryan. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you, Jimmy?
Good. Ready to attack this NCAA football card coming off a very nice Sunday. Saturday, not so nice. The Monday looks did not succeed. I made some money back with the Saturday looks, but got it all back with NFL. So happy there. CMac, how you doing, my man? I can't hear you, CMac.
Sorry. We got to get going on college. My bad. I muted it while I was blowing my tissue.
Okay.
Saturday sucked kind of again. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but we got to get going. NFL's been good, but we need to get rolling. I need to get back rolling real good here. So let's go.
Yes, I agree. It would help very much if I wasn't digging myself out of 1K holes every Sunday. Nolly Knows, how you doing, my man?
What's going on, Jimmy? Yeah, always happy to be here on Monday, ready to try to beat some lines. I had an okay Saturday. My play of the weekend didn't cash, but I thought it was a great thing to explain to San Diego State. You know, San Diego State game, we came here on Monday. I gave you the under 46. The line closes under that, much under that. The game ends at 45, and that's the value of trying to get those opening lines. So it comes to fruition sometimes. Sometimes it goes the opposite way, but that's why we're here trying to beat those lines.
Absolutely. I've already moved on Nevada at minus 14.5, and not because I was that bullish on them, just because I was certain that it would go to 18 by kickoff. It's already at 16 and 16.5. So, I think that Utah. We're going to get to that game. We're going to start with Maction, but it wasn't even that I thought Nevada was going to cover that necessarily. It was that I just was going to beat this market move enormously and put myself in line for a middle. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us. We have a ton of work to do. We got Viper NB in the house, Maxwell Smart, Todd Godot ready to go this year, Chase Dozier, Dennis Garcia, Mark Unkefer, Maceo, Johnny K, Steven Martinez. Steve Martinez says, I have missed the picks. I thought NFL got busted out too. No, I went 8-4 in NFL. 8-4, and my unit sizes are bigger than in NCAA football. It was a very juicy Sunday. Back-to-back good Sundays. Captain Marvel in the house. And you know, Steven, I put every single bet that I make out publicly. I hold back nothing. So, all right, let's get to work, guys. Thank you for joining us. We're going to start with a little Maction here. We're going to start with Eastern Michigan, Kent State. Kent State opening up the 6.5-point favorites at Bet365. Quickly goes to 6. This total sitting at 62.5. Kent, Ohio, 56 Fahrenheit clear, 8 miles per hour. I believe that I wasted a bunch of time getting the weather for every game on Saturday. And I only say that because it's absolutely gorgeous. It's going to get warm everywhere across America. Absolutely beautiful weather for the week. Last year, Eastern Michigan went 6-7. Last year, Kent State beat Eastern Michigan 34-26 to end the year. Chris Creighton, Eastern Michigan head coach, will be calling the plays on offense for the first time in his 7-year stint as head coach. Eastern Michigan does not have a running back on its roster, but the game started. EMU tailbacks opened the 2020 campaign with 10 career rushing attempts. Their starting line is going to be strong, returning 3 seniors. Their defense is strong with seniors returning there. So they have hope. Junior quarterback Preston Hutchinson saw action in 8 games with 1 start as quarterback. That start was against Western Michigan, completed 43 of 57 passes for 462 yards, 3 touchdowns overall. Last year, Kent State went 7-6, bringing back 6 offensive starters, 5 defensive starters. Senior quarterback Dustin Crum returns. Crum threw for 2,625 yards, 20 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also ran for 707 yards on 168 attempts and 6 touchdowns. All right, let's get it started. We'll go with John Ryan. Kent State opening up Maction at home against Eastern Michigan. You have an angle?
I do. The betting line here at 62.5 and minus 6.5 indicates a final score of roughly 38-24. I'm sorry, not 38-24. It's 34-27 or 28. Okay, so relatively high scoring game. The MAC is already known for that. In this case, I think the higher the scoring goes, it favors Kent State. And You did very well there mentioning Chris Creighton, head coach of Eastern Michigan. He's going to be calling the plays this year. And that's good because they only have 5 returning starters on offense, and they have a new quarterback under center. I don't think Kent State blows them out here in this situation. But again, it's the pivot point of 28 points. So Kent State here, when Eastern Michigan scores 28 or more, they're 47-23 against the number last 10 years. And when both teams score 28 or more points, they're 26-19 against the spread the last 10 years. It's a little bit more even. When they allow 500 or more total yards, this is where it gets ugly. They're 13-47 against the spread last 10 years. If they allow 550 or more, 6-28. So you get the point here. And in my initial analysis here, I like to be leaning towards Kent State in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's Dustin Crum is the big advantage point here. Connor Mack, we start Maction with Eastern Michigan at Kent State. You have an angle?
Yeah, just kind of what John Ryan said. 2 kind of even teams, but I think the difference here with Kent State is Crum. I think in that fast-paced offense, I'd lean with them here, -6.5. That'd be my look. I think they can win this game, and it's just a lean. Haven't gone to the window or anything, but I'd lean Kent State.
Nolly Knows, Eagles, Golden Flashes. What do you think here?
Yeah, this is the first-time matchup here first of the season here for both of these teams. So what I look for is the consistency of what you're bringing back. Are you bringing back guys that are familiar with the system or guys that are familiar with the team? And that's Kent State and only Kent State here. Kent State brings back their top quarterback, their top receiver, their top running back. And you got to also remember that Crum is a running quarterback. He led the team with over 700 yards rushing. The guy has 20 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions. He played phenomenal last year. They were good down the stretch on a 5-0 ATS run. And I think they're the team that returns significantly more starters. There's question marks with Preston Hutchinson on the other side for Eastern Michigan. Defense has been an issue for them. And to me, in my opinion here, the only way to do is to lay the points here with Kent State. I like the way they finished off the season, and I expect them to come in here and keep the ball rolling here. So I would agree, Kent State.
Kent State at -6. I know it's very difficult to figure out totals when you haven't seen teams, but this is a pretty high opener. I was a little surprised it was quite this high at 62.5. What do you think of hearing that number, Nolly? Do you think that is around what you expected because of how fast Kent State moves the ball, or is this a surprisingly high number?
It's a MAC number, right? So like John Ryan alluded to it, the MAC tends to go over significantly more. I mean, with the exception of NIU in the past, not last year, but previously. But in this spot, I mean, I would lean towards the under in the sense that it's opening week. And you saw an opening week for all the college football, the unders were hitting. The unders would come through because the offense is behind, but you can have support tackling as well. We've also seen that. To me, it's just the defense for Eastern Michigan is not that great. Kent State pushes the pace a lot. They're not exactly a lockdown defense themselves. So, I mean, I'd have to see. I need to see more. Like you said, we don't have a lot of info right now.
Alrighty, so the panel believing in Kent State to get their season started off by a win of more than 6 points. Let's move on to Western Michigan Broncos at Akron Zips. Western Michigan opening up as 16.5-point favorites. That quickly moves to 18. This total is sitting at 55.5, 57 Fahrenheit clear, 9 miles per hour is the wind in Akron. Western Michigan 7-5 last year. Last year's quarterback, John Wassink, graduated. Redshirt sophomore Caleb Ellaby is expected to be the starter. Last year's leading running back, Levante Bellamy, graduated to the NFL. He's playing with the Lions this year. 4 starting seniors return to defense, and we all remember how bad Akron was last year. 0-12. They returned Cato Nelson and Zach Gibson from a season ago at quarterback. Akron has 3 seniors, just 3 seniors in the projected starting lineup, and on offense, and just 3 on the defensive side as well. How bad is Akron going to be this season? Nolly Knows. Why don't we start with you? Western Michigan, Akron.
You said it right there, Jimmy. 0-12, and defense that was getting lit up. and offense that returned some guys, and they both return starters on both sides of the ball. But how well is that going to be effective? Not very much. And on the other side for Western Michigan, they did lose some pieces, but they bring back a lot of guys that are important to the team. And the way that they finished off the season was very important for me to see in this game. But lane 18 here in the opener is tough. But, I mean, there's nothing to like but Akron. Akron is in a very tough spot. Really a game that I didn't really want any part of. Even when I look at the total at 54, I mean, the game could get out of hand, little garbage touchdown. So, I mean, me personally, I didn't want any part of this game.
I agree. It's a tricky spot to even trust Western Michigan at this point in the season, losing their starting quarterback and lead running back. Let's go over to Connor Mack, Western Michigan, Akron Zips. What do you think here?
Nah, nothing to like here with Akron. Like you said, they haven't won since 2018. I couldn't lay it, but I kind of take Akron the points here. I don't know. I might be crazy. I mean, I'm not officially playing it, but it's not enough for me to get out and lay it right now. Because I don't know. I mean, laying 18 on the road, we've seen it. I don't want to do it. I'd rather just pass on a game like this, especially with the Zips. It's tough to take them at 18. It's tough to take Michigan laying that 18 too. So pass.
Let's hear what John Ryan has to say about this Maction on Wednesday. John, you're on mute.
The thing the Akron Zips, they're 0-12 against the spread the last two seasons, and they failed to cover the spread by an average of double digits. I believe it was 11.8 points per game against the spread. So, when you flip a coin, heads or tails, and heads comes up 8 times, it doesn't mean that tails is due to come up. So, the term is called mutually exclusive. Just like playing roulette. Just because red came up 10 times in a row doesn't mean that black is due or black has a higher probability. Each event is 50-50. However, in this case, we have point spreads. So Akron is going to be they're going to get inflated lines here in the beginning of the season, and I don't like the word value at all, because that means you're buying something at a discount that's, it's like buying a Volkswagen versus a Porsche. That's value, right? You have value because you can buy 10 Volkswagens for the cost of one Porsche. So in this particular case, I think Akron here, the first 4 games of the year, might be pretty good value to consider. I certainly would not bet against them because the lines are going to be way up there, because everybody knows Akron is not a good team and everybody else in the MAC is compared to them. I can tell you this, if they would have played the schedule the way it was laid out before the pandemic, they would have been favored against 2 teams. One is UMass, and the other one is Bowling Green. So if there was ever a game this year that they could possibly win, in my opinion, it would be Bowling Green, which comes up later in the season. So I'm going to stand aside in this game. I think Connor has a great idea with doing that, because we don't know anything about the MAC right now. We saw what happened to Big Ten, and it's kind of nuts. So I think taking a back seat here and just seeing what happens is the right thing to do.
All right, well, let's keep going down the rotation numbers. Next up, we have Ball State, Miami of Ohio, and then we'll go into the Buffalo game. Bobcats, Chippewas, Mount Pleasant, Michigan, 57 Fahrenheit, clear 8 miles per hour. Sorry, I have this. Why do I have this wrong here? Okay, sorry. We're moving out of the rotation number. My fault. We move on to Ohio Bobcats, Central Michigan, Chippewas. Okay, this opened as Central Michigan is 1-point favorites and has moved to Ohio being 1-point favorites. Ohio went 7-6 last year. They beat Nevada 38-21 in the Idaho Potato Bowl. Rushing quarterback Armani Rogers transfers to Ohio as a graduate. Transfers from UNLV, I believe. I don't have that in front of me, but it's UNLV is a UNLV is a rushing quarterback. His receiving group is strong. Experienced, led by junior Isaiah Cox, who caught for 663 yards last year. They have a 2-headed monster running back with O'Shan Allison and DeMontre Tuggle. Bobcats' defense was weak at times last year, but returns 8 key members. And Mark Unkefer in our chat says, returning trash is still trash. So I don't know how to place this defense. They have 8 guys coming back from a bad defense last year. Central Michigan. Let's talk about Central Michigan. They went 8-6 last year, ended on a down note in the 48-11 loss to San Diego State in the New Mexico Bowl. Quentin Dormady to graduation. They lose him. Starting spot looks to belong to redshirt freshman Daniel Richardson, but they have senior David Moore, who was suspended last year for using a banned substance that he said was just in the vitamin pills that he was taking. Who knows?
Come
they
on.
have a strong wide receiver and running back group returning, led by last year's leader Khalil Pimpleton and Kobe Lewis. Their defense was weak last year, but they have 19 pieces returning from last year's D. Ohio, Central Michigan. I guess why don't we start with Connor, as you've seen Armani Rogers quite a bit living in Vegas. Do you have a feel on this spot, Ohio, Central Michigan?
Yeah, I'd go with Central Michigan. With Ohio, Monty Rogers, he couldn't stay healthy at all. He's a big guy. He's like 6'5", 6'6", can run it. He's not accurate at all. He's just a horrible passer. So I like Central Michigan. Like you said, they're bringing back all those guys, Jimmy. I'd lay the small number here with Central Michigan. I don't trust Amani Rogers. I don't know if he stays in either. And he's a hit-and-miss guy, and he just gets hurt. He's such a big guy, you think he just gets hurt nonstop. So I like Central Michigan in this spot against Ohio.
Andrew Carr, Ben Sports 24/7, also on Central Michigan. John Ryan, what do you think of the Bobcats versus the Chippewas?
Well, again, starting with the line here, the final score is going to be 30-30, 31-29, something like that. So both teams go over 28 again, and it's the same story. Yeah. Ohio U is 85-35 against the spread after in a game scoring 28 or more points. And the higher the game goes, and this is why I said that in the beginning of the show with the MAC conference, the higher the score gets with Ohio, the worse they are against the spread. So there's a sweet spot for them between 27 and 34 points. And if you like Ohio, that's where you want them to score, because after 35 points, it becomes almost a 50-50 result against the spread. Now, Central Michigan is, let's see here. I have all these numbers. They are 35-12 when gaining or scoring 28 or more points. They're 12-1 when gaining 500 and scoring 28 in the same game. So those are, some of the angles that I initially look at when I handicap any game, and then I dig from there, and then we run the machine learning tools, and then we get the final play. But for now, I'm a pass on this. I think it'll be a high scoring game, and that's about it.
Ben Sports 24/7 says Ohio offense will be trash. Central Michigan defense still good. Nolly Knows, put a bow on this action. Ohio Bobcats, Central Michigan.
I think something that Connor Mack alluded to for the quarterback over here for Ohio. I mean, or for Armani, I did not a whole lot that I like. Running that system at UNLV, running the triple option, not really known for passing as much. And I didn't like what I saw on the ground either. For Central Michigan, they do return some significant starters on the defense. Both of these defenses are returning significant starters, but two defenses that gave up quite a bit of points, and quite a bit of yards. Yeah. You look at Central Michigan, gave up over 40 points more than 4 times in the season. So that's some defense that I'm really not too fond of, whether or not they're bringing back the starters. I do have a question mark for their QB and redshirt freshman Daniel Richardson. He is a dual threat quarterback, so it might be a bit of an advantage there, being that Ohio might not be prepared for that. I mean, they know who he is, but it's hard to prepare for that in early in the season. For me, this is not two teams I'm going to probably be getting involved with too early. There's some things that need to be worked out, and I'll be there to probably just watch it, maybe not even watch it with these poor defenses. You know me.
All righty, let's move on to the Buffalo Bulls at Northern Illinois Huskies. We've already had Dennis Garcia move on these Bulls. Dennis got in at -10. Buffalo opens up at -9 on the road. That's moved to -11 right now. DeKalb, Illinois, 58 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. Buffalo finished 8-5 last season and are the favorites to win the MAC. In September, they had 19 players test positive for COVID. They've all returned. They're all healthy. The offense revolves around running back Jared Patterson. So he made school history rushing for 1,000 yards in a season as a freshman in 2018. Followed that up by breaking the single-season school record last year as a sophomore. 1,799 yards and 19 touchdowns, named a 2020 preseason All-American. Offensive line lost 3 starters to graduation. Kyle Van Trees will start at quarterback. He took over midway through last year. With him, they went 6-2. He threw for 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, also had 6 rushing touchdowns. Huskies have low expectations this year. Last year, they finished 5-7, lost most of their starters to transfers and graduation. Senior quarterback Ross Bowers, coming off a season in which he completed 57.8%, threw for 2,130 yards and 7 touchdowns. Jordan Nettles, who was expected to be their starting running back, left the school. And listen to this, 62 freshmen on the roster. 16 seniors, 14 juniors, 62 freshmen. Are they just going to get blown out? John Ryan, what do you make of these Huskies, and what do you make of this 11-point road favorite in the Bulls?
Well, here again, I think the Northern Illinois Huskies are a team that had a really good branded name for the last 5 seasons. However, the last 2, they've been a steady decline in their performance in the MAC. And now, as you said, they're very, very young, and it's a rebuilding program, but that may not be reflected in the lines just yet. Buffalo returns 15 starters overall, 8 on offense. And one of the other things I dig in after just identifying the returning starters, well, how well did they do last year, and how many of the yards did they account for? And we find out that the returning starters on Buffalo accounted for 77% of the offensive production. And on defense, it was 58% of the production. So those are pretty good numbers. And being on the road, you're always a little hesitant in the MAC. Those are the type of games you bet them, and then I would never recommend betting the live game lines, because these games are so volatile. It's like watching almost like a hoops game where you have these runs of 3 touchdowns in a row, and then the other team scores 3. And back and forth the whole time. Don't get me wrong; they're very exciting to watch, but they can make you a little bit nervous too. So in this case, I don't see any reason or any problem laying the wood on the road with Buffalo.
Laying the wood, says John Ryan. Let's go over to our Nolly Knows Bulls Huskies.
I mean, yeah, you look what Buffalo did last year. They were excellent down the stretch, and a big reason for it was their defense. Their defense held teams under 3 touchdowns in 5 of their final 6 games, and going heavily to the run. You look at their running back Jared Patterson finished 5th in the FBS in rushing yards last season. They kind of changed their game plan, and even when they went to their quarterback, when their quarterback took over, 6-2 record in his 8 starts, but they do lose a couple key pieces in the offensive line that can be concerning. But going against this Northern Illinois team that hasn't looked good and looked to be rebuilding all over again, I think that's a tough ask for a team that's a little bit more established on the other side with Buffalo, and being the fact that their defense is expected, they're returning a lot of their defense coming back. Key pieces of their defensive ends are really the key things to getting the pressure on the quarterback. And I think the defense is going to be too much in this game, and maybe pitch a shutout or keep them real low. So I might be looking for an NIU team total under, but some that I haven't looked into too deeply, but because it's not really an angle I play as team totals, but I might mess around with that.
Interesting take, team total under for NIU. Let's move over to Connor Mack, Bulls Huskies.
Yeah, Buffalo's the better team. They had tons of players have COVID like a month ago. They're all fresh, ready to go. The offense runs through Patterson. I think he'll have a big day, and they got a pretty solid defense compared to NIU, like you guys have already talked about, really inexperienced, a lot of young guys. I think they're a little bit on the downslide here. I'd lay it, and it's already gone up to 11, as you've seen. I think it goes up more and more. So if you like the Bulls here, jump on it now.
Get it now. Agreed. All right, let's move on to Ball State Cardinals at Miami of Ohio, last year's MAC champions. Miami of Ohio opens up as 3.5-point favorites. That quickly moves down to 2 points. So they're now sitting as 2-point favorites. This total sitting at 56.5. Beautiful in Oxford, Ohio. 60 Fahrenheit clear, 7 miles per hour. Sophomore quarterback Brett Gabbert returns after a mediocre year for Miami. Redhawks' 2 best running backs from last year, Jalen Bester and Tyree Shelton, are out with injury. That's got to be the reason for this move. Shelton's done for the year. Jalen Bester is going to come back. I guess he's dealing with a heel injury of some kind. He will be back. Their defense was very strong last year and is expected to lead them again. Cardinals went 5-7 last year, 4-4 in the MAC, led by redshirt senior quarterback Drew Plitt. 24 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last year. He's poised to have a big season. They return 1,275-yard rusher Caleb Huntley. Last year's top receiver Justin Hall. Huntley focuses other opposing defenses to fill the box up, and then Plitt takes advantage of it. Cardinals defense held them back last year. They allowed 31.4 points per game. If Ball State can get a defense, they can get victories. And market has already moved 1.5 towards the Ball State Cardinals. Connor Mack, let's start with you. Last year's MAC champions, Miami of Ohio, only 2-point favorites at home to start the year.
Yeah, I lean Miami, Ohio here. Ball State, Drew Plitt, they're gonna score. I lean a little bit on the over here as well. It's at 55.5. Ball State, to me, they had a really hard time stopping anybody. Their defense, we'll see how they'll be. That's why I give a slight lean here at the -2 with Miami of Ohio. I think their offense should roll pretty well here. And those are my 2 leans, Miami of Ohio and a little bit on the over. Because I think Ball State scores as well, but they have a real bad defense. They can't really – their defense is just suspect, I think.
So we have CMac leaning towards Miami of Ohio and the over. Let's move to John Ryan, Ball State, Miami of Ohio.
I'm leaning the same direction with Connor on this. You have 17 starters coming back. Of the production numbers, it's 75% of the production last year's offense, and ironically 58% on defense too. On defense, I noticed that they do have a returning starter that's pretty key to this unit, and he was an All-MAC player last year, Doug Costin, and I believe he led the conference in tackles for loss with 12, which that's a big number. So they have another guy coming back too as well, and those 2 combined were the leaders on the defense last year. So I think this fact rolled up into why the line's kind of retreating here a little bit towards the Miami of Ohio Redhawks favor here. So I lean the same way as Connor on the Redhawks.
Redhawks and over. Well, and are you leaning to the over as well?
No, just the Redhawks I see right now.
All right, let's head over to Nolly Knows, Ball State, Miami of Ohio. Take it away.
I mean, I think you guys touched on it a little bit, the way the Ball State's been able to move the ball. I think that's something that's going to continue here. Drew Plitt, I mean, throws for almost 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, just 7 interceptions. Looked really good. Gets his top receiver back. 2 out of 3 back. They get their best running back back. He's rushed for over 100 yards in all but 1 conference game last year. Ball State offense just does what they do, but their defense, one of the worst in the MAC and probably one of the worst in FBS last year. You know, they averaged 31.4 points per game, ranked 94th overall, and that's going to be a tough task for them. You know, are they going to fix that? Are they going to come back and beat that record? You know, and I don't think they fix it. They correct it that fast, and I mean, something that I don't like to do much, but I think there might be some value here when we look at the over. You know, you look at the way that they matched up the last few seasons. They're hanging a total similar 56 in 2018, 42-21 final, 55.5 last year, 41-27 final. Ball State is going to be able to move the ball here. I expect them to put up points, and the offense. I mean, it's a lot to ask from a defense how fast this offense can score. So to me, I think the only look is the over, in my opinion.
Wow, Nolly Knows and overs. Automatic bet for some cappers. When the man who is making unders great again takes the other side. Those are the 7 p.m. MAC games. Let's move on to the one late game. Bowling Green Falcons at the Toledo Rockets. Toledo, Ohio, 62 Fahrenheit clear, 12 miles per hour. Bowling Green looking to improve after a ugly season, 3-9 last year. Their offense should be much improved. A Boston College transfer, Matt McDonald, playing after sitting out last season, and Scott Leffler. I mean, I assume he knows Matt McDonald personally from that 2017 season. And Scott Leffler, his first year on the job was ugly. Let's not get past it. It was very, very ugly. 35 points per game. They stopped a 9-game losing streak with a win over these Toledo Rockets to close out the season. A very embarrassing game for Toledo. I wonder if they are an angry group about that. But you have Matt McDonald coming in, and then you have running back Andrew Clare, who had an injury-plagued 2019 campaign coming in, and Toledo opens up as 19-point favorites. They're now 22-point favorites. Bowling Green's defense should be much improved from last season's squad. I said 35 points per game. I have allowing 39 points per game from last season. They returned 7 starters, and their leading sacker, their leading tackler. So there is optimism. Toledo got off to a great start last year and then just completely fell off. They returned 18 starters to their team. Redshirt senior Eli Peters will start. They had the second best running attack in the MAC last year, and they have Kobach and Shaquille Seymour returning. They averaged 224.5 yards per game on the ground last year, and they have those two guys returning. Why don't we move over to Nolly Knows? Bowling Green Falcons, Toledo Rockets. Why don't you get us started?
I mean, this is a Bowling Green team. I think you kind of alluded to. They haven't really been able to put very many wins together. The Falcons won more than 4 games. Only haven't won more than 4 games since 2015. I mean, their offense really sputtered, and they're a little thin on the offensive line here. Their secondary should make some steps up here, but I don't know really how much confidence we're going to have in Matt McDonald either, just stepping in here. He doesn't have quite a lot of experience, but I mean, ultimately here, this game, too many question marks for me. Toledo, the way they fell off last year was huge. 0-6 their last 6 games on the road. The Falcons 0-7 ATS as last 7 games of underdogs. I mean, I don't really like either one of these teams, but Bowling Green keeps struggling, so I guess I would lean towards Toledo, but I don't like this game at all.
John Ryan, I think that there has to be some optimism. I mean, I used that word in the opening with Bowling Green here. I wish Toledo beat them by 3 scores in that last game of the year, and then I could comfortably back Bowling Green at 22-point dogs. Maybe I should just stay off of it, but I expect to see an improved Bowling Green squad, and I think that people are remembering fresh how bad they were last year, and that's why this has moved to 22. Why don't you take it away, John? Bowling Green, Toledo Rockets.
Well, that's very accurate, Jimmy. The betting public, as we know, loves favorites, especially ones where it looks like Vegas is giving them a gift. Nolly mentioned that they were 0-6. Toledo was last year down the stretch. Well, I'll add a little bit more to that. They lost to the spread by 124 points, or 18 points per game, which is worse than Akron was doing last year. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, Bowling Green is a team that I think Akron might have a chance to beat later on. So it's hard not to like this favorite. The problem is, you have these crazy games in the MAC, and then you have it dominated. You're winning by 14 with 4 minutes to go, and all of a sudden something happens, and Bowling Green gets the backdoor cover by the hook. I think this is, again, I think you're on the right side with Toledo here. But I want to wait a week. I learned my lesson in the Big Ten. Especially with Penn State, as we know. I admit that I was wrong on that. So I'm taking that lesson learned and applying it here to the MAC and just taking a week off just to see how these teams look. And then you have a better idea going forward.
I hear you. For whatever reason, I got to stop. I sort of get off taking these shit teams that have hope. And Leffler, he's supposedly coming back with a vengeance. Let's hear what CMac has to say about this spot. Bowling Green, Toledo Rockets.
Yeah, he's supposed to, but it's up 22.5. Toledo right now. I don't want to lay that with them. No way. Not how they looked at the end last year. And I know, like Nolly, you said 0-7. Their last 7 games is a road underdog 10 or more. And Toledo's 5-1. Their last 6 games is a home favorite or 10 or more. So, I mean, it's all showing that. But I'd still lean Bowling Green. I'd take the 22. It's all about McDonald, how he plays, I think. Can they throw the ball? Because I think they can run it a little bit on Toledo. Can he pass it, at least have a decent day? And I think they'd cover it. So if I had to, I'd take the points here.
Do I really want to be sitting here Wednesday night with a bet on Bowling Green? I don't know. I don't know if I can handle that.
Wait on it.
Yeah. But,
mediocre Mac.
But if
this might be a chance to bet, like put 50% of your bet down, and then if Toledo comes out of the chute and gets up 14-0, then add another 15, 20% using the live bet, and you can scale in, and who knows what kind of average line you get. You could end up with 26, 27.
Absolutely. No, it's a good point.
Probably a good game to do that.
There is Wednesday's Maction. A Gooby 72 liking the over. There is Wednesday's Maction. Let's go to best bet Wednesday action here. Let's go around the horn for best bets. Why don't we start with Nolly Knows? Nolly Knows best bet on Wednesday.
I mean, it's tough. Not a whole lot that I'm too sure about. There's 2 moves that I'm thinking really close about making. If I'm gonna be pulling the trigger, it's probably gonna be on Kent State minus the 6 here.
Kent State for Nolly. All right, CMac, best bet.
I'm going to take the over in the Ball State Miami of Ohio game, the over 55.5.
And let's go to Maction, best bet for John Ryan.
Buffalo. They outrushed the teams last year by 160 yards more on average, and they had 43 sacks and only gave up 8. And I don't think they lost enough those numbers are probably going to be about the same again this year.
Yeah, that's solid. I'd like to see that Northern Illinois, man. How bad are they regressing? Because like you said, 5 years ago, I love betting them. They were a great underdog team, especially at home. I think, what was it, Ben Sports in here was talking about it. Even last year they were 3-2, but they're very inexperienced. So that's a good one. I mean, I like that look as well with Buffalo. And it'll keep creeping up, I think.
Bowling Green 2013, 14, 15, I think they were the MAC champions, if I'm right. And then they just fell off a cliff. They made some really bad moves in terms of hiring coaches and teachers of football, and it didn't work out. But it is amazing how those 2 programs have really disappeared from the landscape.
Yeah.
There you have Wednesday Maction. Let's move on to Thursday. Thank you guys for watching us here on Odds Headquarters. Also, those of you watching right now, when we go live, we're going to be live on YouTube. But as soon as the show ends, you can only catch this video on odds.com's website. It won't be listed on our YouTube page. Let's move on to Thursday night action. Utah State Aggies, 0-2 in the Mountain West, at Nevada Wolfpack. As I said off the top of the show, I already got in at minus 14.5 and minus 110. I watched that game against San Diego State, and I lost my first half bet, and it was just ridiculous. 2 missed field goals, a Utah State bomb with no time left on the clock. And it was about as angry as I've been. I had the full game, and then I did get in live because I was just – Utah State was so much worse than San Diego State. But you have to look at these 2 games that Utah State just went on and think that they have a chance to keep this one close. They just played – the best 2 teams in the conference in Boise State and San Diego State. And I like when teams start off with real tough opposition. Now, that didn't help the Houston Texans in the NFL this year. It's not just always going to help when you play against the best teams, but I think it helps Utah State here. I got in at 14.5. There are 16.5s on the board. I bet you this gets to 18, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be this high. Reno, Nevada, 71 Fahrenheit, clear 7 miles per hour is the wind. Coming off that 38-7 loss at home to San Diego State. They're struggling to get over the loss to Jordan Love. Jason Shelley, 56.3%. He's thrown for just 180 yards in 2 games, averaging just under 4 yards an attempt. Leading rusher Jalen Warren's doing nothing at all to help. 89 yards, 3.9 average in 2 games. And Nevada coming off 37-19 win at UNLV. We all know how bad they are. Carson Strong, 60-79 for 770 yards and 6 TDs. And the only thing Utah State is good at is their pass defense. So I want this to get high. And when this gets high, I'm going to middle this. I really think that is my plan, and that is the play here. Let's get started. We're talking about the Nevada Wolfpack. Let's go to a Vegas resident, CMac. What do you think of this spot? They're now 16.5-point favorites, and this total at 55.5.
Yeah, I like Utah State in the points, and I think it goes up. I think Reno, they're not that good. They played a kind of unreal game against Wyoming. I think Wyoming was caught off guard a little bit. And like you said, UNR can move it. They can throw it. And Utah State's best thing, because they're going to still have struggles on offense, Utah State. They just don't have it. But I think they could keep it close. And if their pass defense can kind of hang in there, because this is, for the Mountain West, it's a pretty good UNR is pass offense. But I'd gobble the points here, too. It's too many. And I think, like you said, I think it goes a little higher as well as the week goes on. A little bit next few days. Sorry.
This is a middle, and I think your breakdown's bang on. Let's go over to Nolly Knows. Nolly Knows, if Utah State's pass defense is their best weapon, Nevada wants to move the ball through the air, is this an under?
I question whether or not their pass defense is that great. I mean, You look at the last game against San Diego State, their last 4 touchdowns, they threw the ball 3 or 4 times. They weren't throwing the ball. They were finding success through the ground, so why do anything else? They ran the ball over 50 times against them, and they were succeeding. They throw 2 different bells at them. They're both doing whatever they wanted against Utah State. And there's not a lot to like from the quarterback. He threw up that one pass, and it was lucky. I feel bad for you, Jim. I really did. I knew you were on there. But, he's 27 of 48. 27 of 48 for 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And on the other side, Carson Strong has looked really good. I mean, the guy's been lights out, 77.8 completion percentage. I mean, the guy's got 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and I expected them to come out hot. Their experience, and that's what's gonna have the advantage here. I mean, they might have surprised Wyoming a little bit. But Wyoming had a lot of question marks, and being that it was game 1, I can understand that maybe they over excelled in that game. But here for Utah State, I mean, they lost their quarterback, but they lost their number 1 running back. They lost their number 1 receiver. They lost a lot more than just.
Can they move it? Yeah.
So I don't expect them to really move the ball. There's nothing that I've seen to lead me to believe that they can hang with with Nevada. Nevada's been looking really strong, and I expect them to continue that. As far as the total, I think the total is really close. I expect similar game, 34 points in back-to-back games, and I expect that trend to continue. I think they put up over 30 points.
Interesting breakdown. Let's hear what John Ryan has to say. Utah State, Nevada Wolfpack.
Well, I think the line is inflated, and for good reason, based on Utah State's first 2 games. One thing I do look at is the ATS margin. So much like margin and straight up, losses, ATS is very revealing too. And Utah State lost by 12 to the spread in the first game. And then they lost by 22 and a half in the second game. So that's underperforming the expectations, of the betting public, so to speak, by a pretty large margin. Nevada has been involved in games. They're 2-0 against the spread, but they haven't covered by a lot. They covered by half a point against Wyoming. And actually in our show, we were talking about Wyoming, and that was +4, +3.5, and money came in on Wyoming. So that's not even a fair reflection there either. And then at UNLV this last week, they covered by 4. So we know what Nevada is, I think. We don't know how bad Utah State is. So there's definitely extra points taking Utah State this week. I want to see another game from them, only because they haven't been anywhere close to covering a number yet.
And Ben Sports giving us the exact number of their passing defense against Boise, 279 yards passing against Boise State. And we're going to talk, is Boise BYU next? No, that's on Friday. So we're still on Thursday's action. But that was, now you can say that part of that was just because it was Boise's first game of the year. But I think that showed something. It showed something. I want this to go up, 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 and I'm going to have some interest in trying to. So, Paco Healy likes the under as well. Mississippi Kid in the house. Thanks for joining us. Mississippi Kid is agreeing with Ben Sports 24/7, who says that this defense for the Aggies isn't as bad as y'all making it out to be. And DJ Big Boss says offense at Utah State is bad with 4 Ds. Yes, ugly. All right, that is the 7 p.m. game. Let's move on to the 9 p.m. game. We have DJ Big Boss in our chat who does it best in the Mountain West, and he had a great weekend that he's coming off of, and thank you for that, DJ. Wyoming Cowboys at Colorado State Rams. Cowboys 1-1 in the Mountain West. Colorado State opened their season against Fresno State at Fresno State. They were 1.5-point favorites. I moved to 2.5-point favorites, and they lose by 20. Let's talk about Wyoming. They lose 37-34 in overtime to Nevada, bounce back with a big 31-7 win over Hawaii. Cowboys dominated the game on the ground. Valade put up 163 yards, 2 TDs. Trey Smith, 89 yards, 2 TDs. Wyoming held Hawaii to just 233 yards of offense. And as I said, Rams got their season moving with 38-17 loss at Fresno State. Centeio was just 10 of 23 for 141 yards. And what was the worst part was the Rams' defense looked awful, allowing 432 yards of offense to a questionable offense at Fresno State. Let's see what we are dealing here. Wyoming, Colorado State. Wyoming opens up at -3. They're now -4 or 4.5. There are 3.5 still on the board as well. This total at 51. And I wonder, why don't we start with John Ryan? John, I wonder if there's going to be an overreaction to Colorado State's opening game where they got pummeled as a slight road favorite. And I wonder if there's going to end up being value on Colorado State as a home dog here. Why don't we start with you, John? Wyoming, Colorado State.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that it's an overreaction already with Colorado State. However, Wyoming has that ground attack that I like. And in week 1, they didn't do so well. But last week they had 281 yards against Hawaii as a 3-point underdog. And they ran the ball for 59 times. They only threw the ball 18 times, completed 9 for 112. So they really didn't even need that because they were dominating the line of scrimmage they were just dominating. Against Hawaii, they rushed for 123. They passed.
John, we have some light issues there. It looks like you're being called by the heavens. I'm very concerned.
It's
the Jimmy Glare there.
Don't
that
leave
good
the
of a
house,
look,
John. There, how's that?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm betting whatever he's on right now.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Here, let me put this down. No, seriously. As long as you heard what I said, that's kind of the point. I think the same thing's going to happen.
It's still coming in.
It's still happening.
He's still looking at it.
Wait, should I put on a show?
You gotta fix your line. Let's move
No,
on.
just close your blind.
It actually is. I guess it's the wind.
Oh, is it?
We got 45, 50 mile an hour winds here on the East Coast. So it's probably the trees blowing everything around. But sorry about that.
It's okay.
I'll see what I can do.
It feels like your parents are beckoning you from the heavens.
Well, it's about time I say something heavenly, I guess.
CMac, let's go over to you here. Wyoming, Colorado State.
Man, this one's a tough one. And I don't know. If you like Wyoming, get on it. But I think it's a little bit too. Colorado State, wow, did they come out flat? That was horrible. And I don't know why O'Brien didn't start. I don't know what he saw in that dual threat. While he did get down there, what is it, Sendejo? Or what's the other quarterback's name? You got it, Jimmy?
Teo, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, he got down there a few times. They couldn't cash it in. But Colorado State's defense was rough. And the whole thing was, their secondary's kind of experienced. They looked horrible. Fresno State, who, the quarterback threw 3 picks 4 days earlier, just picked him apart. So I don't know here. If you love Wyoming, it's now. If you want to wait, it's a little over biased. You think Colorado State? I'd go with O'Brien. I don't know why O'Brien didn't start for Colorado State. If that goes up, maybe there's some value here with Colorado State.
Ben,
later on.
Ben Sports 24/7 says there's value on Colorado State. They held Boise to 90 yards rushing, Fresno to 84 yards rushing. Wyoming likes to run the ball more than throw, so it might be a big issue for this Wyoming game. Viper NB on Wyoming. Nolly Knows, take it away. What do you think here, Wyoming, Colorado State?
I'm just going to let Viper speak for me, because, I mean, those are some points that I was going to allude to. You look at Colorado State, one thing they were able to do is hold them down in the running game to only 84 yards. And he mentioned this is a Wyoming team that on average rushes the ball 247 times a game, only passes 25 times. And if you listen to their coach coming into the season, that's one thing that they know that they have. They have the ground game. They like to ground and pound. And So that's going to lead me towards my angle. I like the way that the Wyoming defense came to play a little bit. And Colorado State's offense really didn't look too great. Weren't able to sustain the drives. Only were able to put up the 17 points. And Wyoming still only allowing 99 yards rushing. They look pretty good. I mean, albeit going against a Nevada team. And if you look at the trends here, you look at the last game, only 17-7 game. It was only a 17-7 game. And then more than that, the 7 of the last Wyoming 9 games have gone under the total. Colorado State's last 5 games have gone under the total. I'm looking at under the total here. I think it'll stay under the 51 points.
Okay. Yeah, Gerald Martinez said here, Wyoming could be had a little bit if O'Brien could throw, because they got a great, I think, run defense, Wyoming. But yeah, I think Wyoming could be had a little bit if Colorado State throws it a little bit with O'Brien. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're just going to get more and more value. So I think we sit back, let the money come in on Wyoming. I mean, it's not going to get to 6.5 or anything like that, but
yeah,
we're going to get more.
5, 6.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, what is really the difference? But I like it. Ben Sports 24/7 saying exactly. Nolly, Colorado State defense looks good to stop the run, and that's all Wyoming is offering right now. All right, let's get our man John Ryan back in action. All right, John, Wyoming, Cowboys, Colorado State. Do you want to just put a bow on your breakdown, because we could hear you? It was just the light coming in. Any final thoughts on this spot?
Not really. I mean, that kind of summed it up. The Wyoming ground attack, I think, is still yet to be seen by everybody the way I see it. And, it's a caveat. I thought Penn State was a pretty good team, so keep that in mind. But seriously, Wyoming has proven it now against Hawaii, so I think they're going to do it again. So
you agree with the market move, and you agree with the market move. Do you plan to get to the window with Wyoming?
This will be one of my best bets.
Wyoming's going to be one of John's best bets, and DJ Big Boss likes the over. He says, "Don't tell Nolly."
That's what I was going to say. Don't tell him.
Let's move on to Friday action here, and we have a big boy spot. Number 11th ranked Miami Hurricanes at NC State Wolfpack. Hurricanes 5-1, 4-1 in the ACC. Wolfpack 4-2, 4-2 in the ACC. Again, the weather's just perfect across America this week. It's going to be maybe our last, for those of us up north, our last week of glory before the darkness sets in. 62 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 3 miles per hour. Both teams are coming off buys. Miami and NC State have similar offenses stat-wise. The difference is defense. Miami's defense allowing 391.2 yards per game and just 22.2 points per game, while NC State's defense allowing 447.5 yards per game and 34.2 points per game. Wolfpack quarterback Devin Leary hurt, and he was very, very important. Bailey Hawkman's come in and not look good. He's thrown for 531 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 picks. NC State coming out 48-21, blowout loss at North Carolina. Miami, NC State. Miami is 9.5-point favorites, and Dennis Garcia says 9.5 feels cheap, doesn't it? Does 9.5 feel cheap? ACC action. Let's go to John Ryan. Is that cheap, the 9.5 for 11th ranked Miami?
Yeah, I thought it was going to come in around 11.5 or 12, so I agree with that. Miami, their ground attack is, despite the dual threat quarterback of King, it really hasn't been working. I don't know if that's a reflection that the DCs are now getting a chance to see him on film and they're making the adjustments. But it seems like each week they're struggling more and more just to get over 100 yards. You would think that they played a more difficult schedule than North Carolina State, but actually North Carolina State has a slight edge in strength of schedule, so that you can throw that out the window. And you can also know that you're comparing stats on an even basis. The one thing I don't like is the North Carolina State coming off the blowout loss to their state rival. That can be a hangover that carries over for at least a week. So in this game, I'm going to be passing, but supporting Miami as head coach of NC State during his 2-14 against the spread after a game in which his team committed 3 or more turnovers. So as most people know that have known me for a while, turnovers are a big part of some of my models, both in the college and the pros. They're very difficult to predict, but using history lesson here, I mean, that's a pretty good supporting stat to take Miami.
Miami at 9.5. CMac, what do you think here?
Yeah, it seems a little cheap. You're right with Miami. I'd like it. I wish Leary was healthy, because this would be a number or a little bit more I would take. I mean, look at North Carolina before the loss, before he got hurt. They beat Wake Forest. While their defense is leaky, they give up points. They won 45-42 over Wake, 30-29 over Pitt, 38-21 over Virginia. So they were playing well, and that injury has hurt them. So I can't play this game at all. It's a pass. But at right now, under 10, if you like Miami. But you see like John said, the little bit of the revenge. They got whipped by the Tar Heels. I think it's all on the quarterback, because they're going to give up some points here. They got to score. NC State's got to stay with them. And I don't know if this backup can get it done. So I'm passing here.
Ben Sports 24/7 says, I see a 2-score win by Miami here. Kane's offense will smother NC State. Last matchup, Miami took it by 14. And Dennis Garcia looking towards the under. Let's go to the man who's trying to make – not trying. The man who's making unders great again. Nolly Knows. What do you think of this total opening up at 58.5?
You know, when you look at the way that Miami's been kind of going their trajectory, the defense keeps getting better and better, and their offense keeps getting worse. They haven't been able to punch the ball into the end zone as much. You look, they squeak out that win against Virginia, just 19 points, when earlier in the season they're scoring 31, 47, 52. And now 17, 31, and 19, you know, significantly less. And their defense is stepping it up, you know, giving up only 14 points against Virginia, 19 against Pittsburgh. And now the big question mark with NC State without their quarterback, how much are they going to be able to produce? They looked pretty bad last week against North Carolina team. Defense had given up a lot of yards through the air. The one concern, if I'm going to sit here and try to bet the under, is that I want 2 defensive teams, and I don't know if I get that at NC State. You know, giving up close to 450 yards of total offense, and that's just something that concerns me. If Miami gets the lead and maybe could run the clock, I would understand that. But here, the total where it's set at 57. I mean, I think that's about on par with what you've seen in most of the games for NC State. I'll be off the side on total. I don't want to mess with this game too much, but I can understand why I take Miami. You know, pick on the fact of the new quarterback.
Yeah, and 9.5 might be value there. Let's move on back to the Mountain West. We got 2 California teams, so we will open up with Nolly Knows. San Jose State Spartans 2-0 to start the year up against San Diego State. Aztecs. Is a little cooler in San Diego, 65 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. It is a 6 p.m. start at West Coast, 9 p.m. out east. 12 miles per hour is the wind. San Jose coming off 38-21 home win over New Mexico. Quarterback Nick Starkel was excellent. 467 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. Utah State coming off that 38-7 beatdown of Utah State, held them to 7 points and just 215 yards of offense. And my first feeling was, I know that San Diego State didn't put the hammer down until the second half, but San Jose State has looked good, and I wonder if 9.5 points is too much for San Diego State. Couple Cali teams. Let's go to Nolly Knows. San Jose State, San Diego State.
I think when you look at San Jose State and what they were able to do last week, I thought they were just picking on what was the worst FBS team defensively against the pass in New Mexico. And they had a lot of question marks coming into the season, and they were able to put up 38 points. But we look at what they did against Air Force. They were only able to put up 17 points. And San Diego's strong suit is the defense. They've only given up 13 total points in the first 2 games. Only given up 91.5 rushing yards, 109 through the air. And their offense is really just revolves around their ground game. You know, last week they've used 5 different running backs. They've got 2 different guys, Bell, and they're little change of pace kind of guys, and really took the ball out of Baker's hands. You know, the guy, he's looked decent to start in the season, but I really don't have a lot of faith in him. I watched San Diego State a lot. That was the one piece that they need is a solid quarterback. I think he misses a lot of open passes, and they start taking the ball away from him. I talked about it a little bit when we were talking about previous defense with San Diego State when they were against Utah State. In the second half, on their first three drives, he threw the ball 3 total times. And on their fourth drive, didn't throw it at all, albeit they had a lead. But it was a 10-7 ball game in the third quarter, and when they only let him throw it twice, their strength is through the ground. And that's something that I think San Jose State will have trouble with. Giving up 177 yards per game, that's going to be an issue for them. And I expect San Diego State to do what they do. They're going to control the game. The defense is going to control the game. And I'm not a big fan of the San Jose State team and their passing. I don't think that they're a 38-point team. I thought they just picked on New Mexico. And I'm looking at this total and I'm seeing, it was at 50 in some spots. I didn't get that luxury. I ended up with there's a 47.5 in my book, and that's where I'm at. I'm going to keep banging these totals for San Diego State, and hopefully we keep something rolling.
And under Nolly Knows, CMac, jump in.
I took it. I took it at 50 like 5 hours ago when I was looking through these games. Thought it was crazy, and I'm now looking at it, it's 47.5, 47. There's still a 48. Just Nolly nailed it there. I have nothing else to say. I already put this bet in at 50, and it's just dropping. It drops more, I think. So that's about it. I love the under here.
Ben scored 24-17. San Jose last 6 matchups haven't scored over 17 points against San Diego State. Yeah. John Ryan, Spartans, Aztecs.
San Diego State is the bet, and you can put me down for that. And I'm not sure if it's going to be a best bet yet. Haven't done enough research yet, but I love what these two guys said. There's nothing more for me to add. I can tell you that San Diego State, when they outgain an opponent by 2 or more yards per play, which is several of the machine learning models are projecting that, San Diego State is 39-10 with 1 push the last 10 years when that has happened. And I don't see how San Jose State's going to be able to move the ball against that defense. It's more about the San Diego defense and the under bet in this game that is really attractive. But that also, I think, is going to propel San Diego State to an easy cover.
Yeah, we'll see here. So San Jose scored 17 against Air Force, and they wanted to run it, and they scored 30 against New Mexico, like Nolly said. That was just picking it apart at that. I think San Diego State keeps them under 14, 17, easy here. So that's why I like the under so much. And they probably cover.
That, San Jose State does not score more than 13 points in this game, and it's pretty high probability. But, it's a probability. It's not 100%. But it definitely supports the under.
So a Spartans team total under might be a spot as well. Gerald Martinez says San Diego State covers the spread. Dennis Garcia thinks this could go lower than 44. Let's move on to the 9:45 p.m. Eastern night game. That's number 9th ranked BYU Cougars, 7-0 at 21st ranked Boise State Broncos. Boise, Idaho, 44 Fahrenheit, showers in the forecast, 9 miles per hour. We're going to start with John Ryan here. BYU opens up at -2. Now there's -3s across the board, and that doesn't tell the whole tale, right? Didn't Boise State actually open up as a favorite in some books?
It's a crossover, yep.
Yeah, so that some of these it didn't, but there are some books that started with Boise State as 2-point favorites, but Bet365 waits to put out their lines, and they put it out after that move with BYU as 2-point favorites, now 3-point favorites. We finally get a good gauge to see how good BYU is. Coming off 41-10 win at home over Western Kentucky. Zach Wilson being great all year, 19 touchdowns, 2 picks. Boise State did not look good defensively in their 49-30 win at Air Force. On offense, USC transfer quarterback Jake Sears was in complete control. 17 of 20, 280 yards, 3 TDs. But Air Force put up 484 yards on Boise. Boise State 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 home games. John Ryan, big spot, Friday night football, BYU, Boise State.
Well, in this particular case, you have to wonder whether BYU is starting to get a little inflated. They've covered all but 1 game this year. And, people like to bet on a winner. it's more likely to bet on a team that's won their last 3 games and covered all 3 by 30 points than it is anything else. But it could be a trap here. In my initial thoughts, taking BYU, because when something looks too good to be true, it just might be. Supporting BYU, though, there is a pretty good trend here, 25-10-1 against the number in road games after covering as a double-digit favorite, and that goes back to 2005. Boise State here, they're 30-15 as an underdog over the last 10 years. They do well in November, and I do think that the month does have some meaning to these types of team trends. It has no meaning on the day of the week, whether like in the MAC, whether he's playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, that's irrelevant. But I think November is the time where the cream comes to the top, and we've seen Boise State do this. They're 27-9-2 pushes following a game where they forced an opponent with at least 1 turnover in 2 consecutive games. So later in the week, I think I'll put out on Twitter an actual play on this, but my play is probably going to be Boise State, and I'll leave it with that.
Interesting. Let's move over to CMac. Cougars, Broncos.
Yeah, John nailed it. I'm going to wait on this game too. I mean, if you like BYU, it's 2.5 right now, and I would take it. I wouldn't, but I don't know. I had BYU last week. I laid the 30. They won by 31. They tugged off that was one of the only big numbers I laid. But this is a totally different thing on the Smurf turf. Boise looks good, and I want them here as a dog. I'm going to wait to play it, but they're my lean. I think their team finally, BYU gets maybe hit in the mouth a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what BYU, if they're really top tier, if they go in there and hand it to them. But I think this game could be tight, could be maybe low scoring, especially if Boise's defense plays well, because everyone's talking how great BYU's offense has been. They can light it up. Can they light it up here? We'll see. So.
All righty. Let's move over to Nolly Knows. Nolly, this total sitting at 59.5. DJ Big Boss says BYU by 7. Ben Sports 24/7 says BYU by 5. Let's hear what you have to say about this spot, Nolly.
I mean, yeah, this is a big matchup here. 2 of the top teams here in the conference. But one thing that I recognize is that BYU's defense is extremely solid. Only giving up 97 yards per game. And one big cause for concern is the fact that Boise State gave up 415 yards rushing to Air Force. I mean, that's just simply not going to get it done against a big physical line in BYU. I think BYU, the big difference here is the fact that they have a better defense. They're solid, only giving up 13.4 points per game. They're 6-1 against the spread, like John Ryan mentioned. And I just think they have the better defense and the better quarterback. I think Zach Wilson has been phenomenal this year, and I think he continues here. I mean, this is a tough test, especially on the road, but I think BYU is just the better team. I like the better defense, so give me BYU.
BYU for Nolly Knows. This might be a spot that I stay off. All right, let's quickly, and we have to speed it up here. We're getting a little long in the tooth here. For best bets for Thursday, Friday action. We have your best bets for Wednesday MAC action. Let's move to Thursday action. We'll start again. Actually, we'll go the other route. We started with Nolly last time. Let's start with John Ryan here. John Ryan, best bet Thursday, Friday.
It's Wyoming.
Wyoming. And what are we getting that at right now? If you wanted Wyoming, you'd get Wyoming at -4. So we'll give you that -4. CMac, best bet.
I already bet it. The 50 under. San Jose State, San Diego State. I got it this morning. I had a feeling, and like Dennis said, I think this goes down to 44 or so. I just think it keeps dropping.
Nolly, best bet on Thursday, Friday action.
Oh, that's the. Oh yeah, I'm on the other one too. Yeah, I'm on that under as well. I mean, I didn't get the 40s. I didn't get the 50. That wasn't available for me. I got 47.5.
But it's your favorite look?
Yeah, that's my favorite look. I mean, if choose another one, it would be BYU. But San Diego State game, I mean, that's the team I've been riding under. Is the most profitable team to the under last year, and they will be this year too.
Yeah, I thought it was high. When I saw that 50, and then just to see 4 hours later it dropped so low, So everyone's been hammering it.
All right, and in Jacksonville, Zoe saying, is Sears at quarterback this week, or is Boise getting Brockenmeyer back? I thought it was Sears again. Does anybody have that information?
I think it's Sears too.
From my study, it was good. We were going back to Sears.
Yeah, I thought he looked good.
Yeah, so you look in complete control. All right, let's move on. Saturday, let's start rolling through these games. Now, these are the spots that our experts on the panel have picked out as their favorite looks on the Saturday card. So the capper who is starting it, who's going to open, will be the one who likes this game and wanted to talk about it. We're going to start with some 12 p.m. clashes. First one, number 23 ranked Michigan Wolverines, 1-1 in the Big Ten, and number 13th ranked Indiana Hoosiers, 2-0 in the Big Ten. Bloomington, Indiana, 66 Fahrenheit, sunny, 7 miles per hour. Michigan coming off the shocking 27-24 loss at Michigan State. Indiana coming off a strong performance in their 37-21 win at Rutgers. Connor, you like this spot, so let's get after it. Michigan opening up as 3.5-point favorites. That's, if you want the 3.5, you can get that at plus money. That's moved down to 3. This total at 55.5. Connor, take it away.
Yeah, I see 3.5s everywhere. I like Indiana with the points here at home. I know. I guess I'm a Michigan hater, and I got a few friends that love Michigan. I think Indiana's the better team, and I didn't take that Michigan State. It was stare me in the face, take these points. I don't know how good Michigan is. I didn't do it last week. Michigan State beats them outright. But Indiana right now I think is the way better fundamental football team. I think they can score on them. And the defense is good enough, I think, because I still don't see Michigan's offense is really dynamic. They're not high-flying out there. So I'm taking the 3.5. I might even sprinkle a little money line.
3.5 and money line.
It might go up too. People might bet this up a little bit too, Jimmy. Maybe. I don't know. I got to watch it here because it was 3, and now I see 3.5s everywhere. I already see the hook.
See, I have different information here. Let me just refresh this, but I have here that it opened at 3.5. Bet 365 and one other book are the only ones still hanging at 3.5. I have 3s.
I got everything local 3s, DraftKings 3.5. Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Okay. We have a look on Indiana from our CMac. Let's move to John Ryan. Big Ten action. What do you think of, Connor, on Indiana? Are you making a move here?
Well, the whole situation with Michigan State, a lot of people heard me say that, and quoting myself, that Michigan State sucks and is not an FBS 5 caliber team, and they're worse than Maryland. And I probably have done that maybe 5 times in my 25 years of doing this. So I'm going to say that I suck from now on whenever I use that word in the same sentence. Because that was one of the most embarrassing things I think I've ever said. And then the betting gods just, they took care of me. And
he'll do that.
Clearly wrong. So with this game, I can tell you that, I'm not a big Michigan fan either. And it's not because of the kids playing. It's more the coaching style. I like the other brother down in Baltimore a lot better. But in this case, Harbaugh is 0-8 coming off a conference game of a loss of 3 or less. And I think that speaks monumentally to the sting that Michigan must be feeling losing to the Spartans, state rivals, similar to North Carolina State and North Carolina. Indiana is flying high, and they have nothing to lose, and they're not supposed to be 2-0. And coming into the season, they didn't think they would be 2-0, let alone have a chance to be 3-0 and take over the conference lead here. So they can play loose and free, and who knows? I like the Indiana side here. I really agree with Connor 100%. The betting public so far is over 70% on the 20 books that I'm looking at. And, if that continues, I will be on Indiana come Saturday.
Very interesting. Nolly Knows, Michigan, Indiana.
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting game. I think Michigan comes down to earth a little bit last week, facing their state rival or Michigan State. I think a crazy game. They try to make a comeback, but I think, I mean, Indiana, like you mentioned, they look pretty good through the air. They're still only rushing for 74 yards per game, something that I don't like to see. But the numbers for Michigan are much more inflated on that side. This is a tough game for me to get a grasp of. A little bit too high profile for my liking. Most of my games are a lot more low key, lower to mid majors. So I'm off this game.
We'll move on to a game that you are on, Nolly. That's Nebraska Cornhuskers at Northwestern Wildcats. Evanston, Illinois, 61 Fahrenheit, sunny, 12 miles per hour is the wind. Nebraska game last week canceled after the opposition. Wisconsin came down with multiple positive COVID tests. They were last seen 2 weeks ago, opening their season with a 2-17 loss at Ohio State. Northwestern squeaked by Iowa 21-20 to move to 2-0. Nolly right now in this spot. Sorry, let's get your odds up here. Northwestern opening up at -4 bet 365. They've moved down to 3.5, although there's still 4s available. Nolly, take it away. What are you looking at?
I mean, right away, Jimmy, you bring up a game with me. It's going to be looking at the total. Northwestern. I think I don't know if a little lucky or not last week over there with Iowa game. I think the scoring just completely disappeared in the second half. The final ends up being 21-20. And that's what more so typical of what you see out of these Northwestern games. You look at the team played last year. It was a 13-10 ball game. And Northwestern defensively has been looking really good, only giving up 70 and a half yards per game. And that's something that Nebraska is always going to look to do, is to establish the run. They're going to have to establish the run to get Martinez some better looks, to be able to run the play action. And I'm not really sold on the quarterback. That's been the biggest issue. But Frost, I don't know if he really has many options. They're expecting them to perform a lot better, and they got punched in the mouth by Ohio State. I think some of those defensive numbers are a little bit more inflated. Here, the only way I'm going to look at this game is the total. That's something that I always look for Northwestern. So that's my look here is the under 51.5.
Under 51.5 for Nolly. Let's move to John Ryan. What do you think here? More Big Ten action.
Well, I like what he's talking about too. I'm leaning towards the under in this game, and I know I don't talk totals too much, but this one kind of sticks out. I'm just pulling up I lost the sheet. I apologize, but there's several trends in a betting system I was going to quickly go over that support the under. So just trust me that they exist, and I think the under is the play here.
Sure, under is the play. If you do pull them up, we can quickly go back to after CMac. CMac, Cornhuskers, Wildcats.
Yeah, I lean under here as well. And Dennis just put it. If I see a 3, I'm taking Northwestern. I think they're the way better, fundamentally sound football team. I've been a fade on Nebraska, fade on Martinez. If I can get a 3, I'm on Northwestern here.
Gonna back Northwestern if you can get a 3. Did you find it? Do you want me to pull it up, or should we move on, John?
I did pull it up here. So the under here, 38-15 as a home favorite is Northwestern. And then we scroll down here a little bit further, and we get Fitzgerald 48-24 in his career as a coach, under 35-10 as a home favorite, 35-16 under after 2 or more consecutive straight up wins as a coach of Northwestern. And it goes on and on like that. So there's a lot of evidence that supports this situation for Northwestern to play under.
All right, let's move on to another game that our Connor Mack is looking at. Durham, North Carolina. North Carolina Tar Heels at Duke Blue Devils. Duke 2-5, 1-5 in the ACC. Our man John Ryan was bullish on Duke against at Charlotte 49ers, and that was an easy 53-19 win. North Carolina coming off its second loss in 3 games, 44-41 at Virginia. Let's see what we are dealing with here. North Carolina opens up at -10. Now they're -10.5, and there's total at 64. Connor, what are you seeing? What's your angle?
Yeah, I like how Duke played. Even those games they lost, that was a pretty big statement. They whipped Charlotte. John Ryan was on. I like what they've seen. Even that first game against Notre Dame, and I don't like what I've seen in North Carolina. They've been after such a great year with Mac Brown and what he's been doing. I got to take the 10.5 here with Duke. Just a double-digit dog. This is one that kind of stuck out to me. I want the points here. I guess North Carolina is going to come out pissed, but they've just been not the team I thought they would have been, and I don't think people should be as high on them as they are. So I'm definitely taking Duke in the 10.5 here.
Duke plus 10.5. John Ryan, you backed Duke last week. Are you going back to the well?
I probably will, Jimmy, and for all the reasons that Connor just mentioned. Duke played very, very well last week, and now they got their state rival at home. Whether it's basketball, lacrosse, swimming, whatever it is, it's a rivalry, and it's intense. So, what I'm seeing with Duke is a steady improvement on the defensive line, and the metrics reflect that. And that's one thing that will definitely help beat North Carolina when you're an underdog. Third down conversions. UNC has they rank 11th in the nation at 51% conversions, but a lot of those situations were not high pressure situations. They haven't had many of those. In red zone scoring, this illustrates that fact because they rank 48 scoring on 85% of the red zone. So if you're a top 10 team, like you think you are, you should be, it should be in the 90s. For a team like that. So, the Duke defense ranks 42nd in red zone scoring defense. So that matches up nice too. So I like Duke here with the double digits. Like Connor said, I just don't think North Carolina is that good.
Let's move over to Nolly Knows, North Carolina, Duke.
I mean, not a whole lot that I'm really interested to say in this game. You talk about two teams that don't like to play any defense. I look at their records. I see a lot of O's, a lot of overs. Duke's been able to move the ball though. I think that's something that's going to be a cause for concern for North Carolina. You look at losing to Virginia, giving up 44 to Virginia. I thought that's pretty bad, but yeah. I think I would agree with what you guys are saying about Duke, but there's nothing that I trust out of Duke either. They're giving up a lot of points, and to me, I think maybe I'll look at it over here, but not a game I'm interested.
Let's move on to number 8 ranked Florida Gators at number 5 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia 4-1 in the SEC, Florida 3-1 in the SEC, and this is a Connor Mac look. Let me pull up what we're dealing with from an odds perspective. Georgia opens up as minus 4.5 point favorites. They're now down to 3.5. I lost a double dip first half full game on Georgia last week, and it hurt. They showed off their strong defense in a 14-3 win at Kentucky. Didn't cover first half or full game, and I got in on that line. I beat up that line. I moved 3.5 points by the time kickoff went, and I was on the right side and got hurt. We are at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville for this game. 78 Fahrenheit, scattered thunderstorms, 15 miles per hour. They always tell you scattered thunderstorms in Jacksonville this time of year. So this is Monday at 3:23 p.m. Eastern. Do look up what the weather is because that will change. Florida bounced back from their loss to Texas A&M with a 41-17 win at home over Missouri. Connor Mac, what's your move?
Yeah, I wanted to go over this one. I think this is the biggest game on the card other than Clemson, Notre Dame. I'm not going to make a play on it just yet. I just want to talk about it. I like Georgia here early. At 4.5, it could drop, but they're missing a couple D linemen, Davis and Rochester, and their All-American safety. I don't even know the guy's name, LeConte. Well, it could be out as well. So I'm pumping the brakes here. But initial look, I like them because I don't think Florida can stop anybody, and I'd rather have the better defense, which is Georgia. But if they're missing tons of guys here, I'm going to have to wait later in the week and take a look at this. But I think Georgia's the better team, and they look sluggish. I think they were looking ahead of this game. That's why I didn't take Georgia last week. And, man, they mauled Kentucky, but they only put up 14. That was a sluggish game. But my initial lean, I was liking Georgia here, but I got to wait the rest of the week on some of these injured guys and who's going to play.
CMac waiting for more information on the Georgia Bulldogs. John Ryan, Florida, Georgia.
I think you have to start liking Georgia here. They allowed 3 points against Kentucky and basically played not to make mistakes on offense to give Kentucky any hope at all. They rank 11th in scoring defense in a conference that is scoring a ton of points. They're allowing 16.2. Florida is allowing almost 30 a game. That's a difference of 13 points just in the defense alone. Same strength of schedule stats. I don't see how in the world you can take Florida. But the one thing I do miss in this COVID-ridden 2020 is this game used to be the biggest cocktail party in the world, and we can't say that anymore, unfortunately. And there won't be any fans there. So that's a shame because that is an event, much like the events I've said before, that you got to put that in your bucket list and go attend. It's been going on since, I think, 1922 was the first time it was held in Jacksonville. And it's just a shame that the festivities won't be taking place again this year. And the weather is a big situation. I'm glad whoever brought that up is very accurate. I have family that lives in the Jacksonville area, and every day the forecast is 35% showers, and they can blow in out of anywhere, and they can be pretty intense. So be sure to check that too, before you put any bets in, especially on Saturday.
Nolly Knows. Dennis Garcia says this total at 54 seems high. And it is dropping, it looks like. What do you think here? Is there any move for you, Gators, Bulldogs?
I mean, the game does interest me a bit. I mean, you saw Georgia's inability to move the ball last week, but that was against a tough Kentucky defense. They've been playing great defense all year, and Florida has not shown that same success, giving up 300 yards passing per game. And over here for Georgia, I mean, Bennett looked awful last week. But the one good thing is that Kirby's talking that he's going to trust him, and there's no doubt that he's the starting quarterback. So a lot of a vote of confidence from your head coach is something great for that team. And I think when you look at the totals over the last few years, it'd be indicative. You know, Florida was putting up a lot of points last year as well, coming to Georgia to face Georgia, and they only put up 17. A good defense is gonna settle down that offense and the pace of play which Georgia plays at. You know, Georgia looks to establish the run. They run the ball 42 times a game, and I'm going to have to agree with Dennis Garcia here. I think the total is just a tad bit too high here. You get me over in the 50s. See a 54.5 right now. I think that's a play.
Nolly leaning to the under, Connor and John leaning towards Georgia. All right, let's keep rolling. Just a few games left here. Next up, 4 p.m. Eastern, we have the 14th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys, 4-1, 3-1 in the Big 12 at Kansas State Wildcats, Manhattan, Kansas, 69 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. This is one of the few games where there is expected to be wind issues for the quarterback, 19 miles per hour. Oklahoma State coming off their first loss of the year, surprising 41-34. Overtime loss at home to Texas. Kansas State coming off an ugly 37-10 loss at West Virginia. We have Ron Crawford in the chat here who says Georgia minus 3.5 top play. Ron Crawford came into our Monday show and said, get on West Virginia as soon as possible. Get on them now. And man, was he right. John, you are looking at this Big 12 matchup. What's your angle, my man?
Oklahoma State, and it's based on the 28 points scored again. I hate saying the same thing over and over again, but Oklahoma State has a very high probability of scoring 28 or more, and that puts them in a situation of being 13-5 against the spread the last 3 years. And then they are 131-57 over the last 10 years when they score 28 or more. Further, they're going to allow 22 as the projection. And in situations like that where the Cowboys allow 22 or fewer, they are 45-15 to the number over the last 10 years, 5-2-1 the last 3 years. And then we get to the ugly stuff with Kansas State. Let me get to a betting system here just because of time. This system has gone 65% winners over the last 5 seasons, and every single season has been a profitable one. It's 152, 86, and 2 pushes. So if you like action, this is why I'm mentioning it, because a lot of people like to have a system that they can know 2 or 3 picks every week might come up. And it's pretty simple. You play against underdogs of 10 to 21 points including those two numbers, after a game in which they were outrushed by 125 or more yards. Simple as that. 47% of these games have covered the spread by more than 7.5 points. So although simple, it's been quite profitable. So I'm on Oklahoma State here.
Oklahoma State for John Ryan. Let's move over to Nolly Knows. Oklahoma State Cowboys, Kansas State Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, I was going back and forth in this game a little bit. For me, when I look into totals perspective, Oklahoma State at a much slower pace than what you are accustomed to in the past. And when you look at some of these tougher opponents that Kansas State have faced, they really haven't been able to put up many points. You know, they put up 55 against Kansas. And so the numbers, I think, get a little bit inflated. But recently, I just don't like how Oklahoma State's defense has been playing. They looked a little bit better earlier in the year, but still only giving up 125 yards rushing, 174 passing. I think Oklahoma State, is the clear side here just because of that defense and the way that they're able to move the ball on offense. But, I mean, you look at 440 total yards of offense for Oklahoma State. But me personally, I'm off this game. I wouldn't want to lay that.
Oklahoma State opens up at -10, now at 12.5. That's the opening line at Bet365. CMac, any move for you here in Big 12 action?
Not yet. I'm going to wait. Initially, I like Oklahoma State. I think they come back and play better after losing to Texas. But K-State got whipped. But, they beat Oklahoma 38-35. They beat Texas Tech. This is a spot, and if it keeps getting steam, like Max said, if this keeps going up, if I can get over 14.5, I'm going to go with K-State. Either at home in Manhattan as a dog, double-digit, more than 2 touchdowns. I think I'm going to jump on that side. So I'm going to wait and see how this goes. Here. And Oklahoma State hasn't beat anybody real convincingly this year, even with their wins. They lost last week, but with their wins all year. So I'm going to wait for this one, see how far it maybe goes up.
Let's move to another game. John Ryan has his eye on bum fight in the SEC. Vanderbilt Commodores 0-4 at Mississippi State Bulldogs in Starkville, Mississippi. Bulldogs 1-4 all games in the SEC. 70 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Vanderbilt coming off their first game in 3 weeks. 54-21 loss at home to Ole Miss. Mississippi State coming off their bye week with a 41-0 loss at Alabama. So you had an extra time to prepare for the Crimson Tide and could do nothing about it. Mississippi State, though, opening up is at 18.5-point favorites. That moves to 19.5-point favorites. And this total at 48. John Ryan, take it away. Commodores, Bulldogs.
Well, I think that the play here is to take the dog. And it's not going to be a popular dog. And I think this line will probably keep climbing as Saturday approaches. Another simple betting system. I could try to impress you with all these complex ones with all kinds of parameters and stuff. But let's keep it simple because it works. And this system is you're going to play on road teams that are facing an opponent after 4 consecutive games with a negative turnover margin, meaning they had more turnovers than the opponent. So, that I think that logically makes sense fundamentally too. If you're favorite of a big favorite that's not taking care of the ball, can't be trusted. And now you have a Vanderbilt team that Mississippi State has a very high probability of looking ahead and considering this a W before the game is even played. I can say this because I know it's true. Every year for the last 7 years, my models have come up with a double-digit underdog of 20 or more that has won the game outright. And I never know when that is, obviously, because you get several of these dogs. You just never know when it's going to hit. And, I can't predict whether this is going to be the one. But I do think that this game is going to be a hell of a lot closer than what the line is indicating.
Interesting breakdown. Vanderbilt plus 19.5 for John Ryan. CMac, what do you think of that analysis and backing these Commodores?
I have nothing on it. It is a lot. I didn't dig much into this game at all yet. That's a lot of points, but Vandy, I don't know. I got to look at it more.
Memphis Tennessee, I have to take Vandy and the points.
I mean, yeah, I'm a points grabber. I got to look at the game more. I didn't dig into it that deep this game yet. So
Max says if Vandy wins, I'm sending you a bottle of Ace of Spades.
I didn't say to bet the money line though, but
Yeah.
you can send me whatever you want.
Take the 19 points.
Nolly Knows, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Anything interest you here?
I'm a little ticked off that I wrote off Mississippi State right away with their porous defense and then their offense. I thought their offense was going to be able to produce a little bit more. Slight overlook on my part, and they've been a big under team and killing the number by quite a bit. But here in this matchup, the bum fights, like we like to call them, things happen a little bit differently when two teams like this is nature come up and meet each other, and they've adjusted. When I look at the totals adjusted big time. You look at it down to a 48, where the rest of their games they're getting 50. The lowest before that was 56. So being that the line makers have made a big adjustment down is what's keeping me off this game.
Let's move on to another John Ryan spot. Big 12 action. Baylor Bears 1-3 in the Big 12 at number 17th ranked Iowa State Cyclones 4-2, 4-1 in the Big 12. 61 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 17 miles per hour in Ames, Iowa. Let's see what we are getting here. Iowa State opening up at minus 13.5. That's moved to 14. Again, that's a Bet365 opening line. This total at 53.5. Baylor coming off third straight loss, 33-23 at TCU. Iowa State coming off a road beatdown of lowly Kansas. John, what's the angle you're looking at?
It's Iowa State, and it's backed by a really powerful system here that's 12-0 the last 5 seasons. So I figured I'd present one that is really, really stellar. So in this situation, you're playing on home favorites of 10 to 21 points. It's a good offensive team, averaging more than 400 yards per game, but not more than 450 yards per game. And they're facing a team that has a mediocre defense, allowing 350 to 390 yards per game. And that they're coming off a game outgaining the opponent by at least 125 in total yards. So again, I think those 3 parameters illustrate the better team, why it's favored, and why it's going to be able to dominate the opponent on both sides of the ball. So with that in place, 12-0, I'm not superstitious, but 13-0, I think is going to happen.
A dominant performance in the cards for Iowa State, thinks our John Ryan. Nolly Knows, Baylor, Iowa State.
Still a little bit pissed off at Baylor. Took that the under last week. The under train kind of fell off. A lot of turnovers in that game early. Points were getting scored. Really pissed me off. But here in this game, when I look at Iowa, and they've been able to perform really well. They're doing it through the ground and through the air. And I just not a lot I like out of Baylor's offense. So I don't think they're going to be able to keep up. I would agree, but no look for me here.
No move for Nolly. Let's go to CMac. Just a couple games left on this card, and Baylor, Iowa State up right now. CMac, you making a move?
No, Baylor sucks. They're horrible. And then the final scores, you look, they're they lost 33-23. They got whipped. That first half, they didn't come off the bus. That was pathetic. They were down, 27-0, 24-0. I had Iowa State, got a little lucky, but I've been taking just about everyone over Kansas to cover. I laid that. It's 14.5. I think Iowa State's a way better football team. Can Baylor finally play 4 quarters? Who knows? And maybe in this game, could they get a backdoor cover? Like I said, they lost to 10 last week. The way they played in that first half, they should have lost by 30. So it ended up being 33-23. But so for right now, it's a pass here for me.
We have a pass. Let's move on to a spot that we have a big one. Let's move on to number 1 ranked Clemson Tigers at number 4 ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Both teams undefeated. Clemson 6-0, Fighting Irish. 6-0 in the ACC, 7-0 overall. Notre Dame 6-0, 5-0 in the ACC. And Notre Dame, Indiana, 61 Fahrenheit, clear, 8 miles per hour. Clemson coming off 34-28 win at home over Boston College in their first game without Trevor Lawrence. Uli Agalale, 30-41, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns. The big 6'5" freshman who's come in. Notre Dame coming off 31-13 win at Georgia Tech. It was a nice under that we jumped on. They've allowed a paltry 23 points combined in their last 3 games, wins over Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Louisville. John Ryan, you have your eye on this game. What's your move?
Well, it was kind of surprising to me with Lawrence being announced out because he's not going to have enough time to clear the COVID protocols. I was surprised that they were favored by this much, to be honest. A little shaky with the backup, whose name I am not going to try to pronounce. I've been practicing in a mirror, and I still can't get it right. But he's a very talented athlete, and there's, it's chemistry. We don't know how many snaps he's even taken. There was no spring ball. It's just a hard situation. But the fact that Clemson is favored reminds me that they have the studs at the skill positions. They have very good wide receivers. They have probably an underrated defense that really has not been challenged yet, but they probably will be in this game. So my lean here initially is definitely on Clemson. I think the most popular program in the nation arguably is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We know that already. I haven't seen what the percentages of betting are so far, but I would be really surprised if it wasn't in favor of the Irish bettors getting the Irish as a home dog. And that was the most surprising thing in this whole matchup. But I do think Clemson, they rise to the top when it matters. And, the kid's a 5-star recruit. I lean towards Clemson in this matchup.
I agree. And at Bet365, Clemson opens up at -7. It's now at -6, but a ton of books have moved to 5.5. Money is just going to continue to move on Notre Dame, and that line is going to become better and better and better. CMac, what do you think of backing Clemson Tigers and DJ Uiagalelei?
Well done.
Yeah. I don't know here. I'm usually a fade Notre Dame. They have the better skill position players, but will their defense? I was surprised. Jurkovich in BC, I liked him all year. He slung it. They kind of fell off towards the end of the game and lost it. I'm going to wait here. If the line goes higher, I don't think it will. I'd love to get more in the touchdown at home with Notre Dame. And I'm the anti-Notre Dame because they're always way too many points, all that stuff. But I don't think they're ready to win this game. But, God, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on this one. But it should be good, I think, with Lawrence out. It's Clemson's defense. Will they show up? It's like they kind of got punched in the mouth early, and they're kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And they finally played better in the second half. And everything went wrong. The fumble, return, that first half just kind of shit ran downhill for them. So they're the better team, and I don't know. I'm going to wait on the line here, but Clemson, is better. If I could get over a touchdown, I might take Notre Dame.
I like what Maxwell Smart is saying there in the chat.
Clemson and Bama are at different skill levels than Notre Dame. Notre Dame is far, far away from.
Yeah, that sums it up.
Pineapple Cook says Ian Book is not trustworthy. Robert Allen says, give me Notre Dame. Let's go to Nolly Knows. Clemson, Notre Dame, big game.
I mean, you guys talked about it a little bit. Every time Notre Dame tries to take a step up, it's been pretty bad. But here, their defense is what looks really good here. Their defensive front has looked really good. Their pass rush and stopping the run, giving up less than 100 yards a game. It's still a tough ask for Clemson, even with the backup. Not going to even try it. Great job, Jimmy. But to me, I mean, this is going to be a tough battle. Clemson's defense hasn't looked as dominant as Notre Dame, but you see what they do when they step up in talent. They come to play, and they're deep. They're very, very deep in all positions. That's something that I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. I think if Clemson can take the run away and put it in Ian Book's hands, Notre Dame's in trouble. And I think even Notre Dame fans will tell you that. So I think that they can do that. I think they are the more talented team. I would lean towards Clemson, but I'll be watching this game as a fan, definitely.
We have 2 games left, and we're going to put a bow on this show. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to our experts on the panel for fighting the good fight for us for so long. Dennis Garcia says, give me the under 52. Clemson's D is fine for that spot. 2 games left here. And again, those of you who want to watch us live here, we'll be live on YouTube every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. But if you want to watch this video later in the week, it will only be available exclusively on odds.com. You'll have to go there for it. Let's move to a Nolly Knows spot. South Alabama Jaguars 3-3-2-1 Sun Belt. At number 15, Coastal Carolina, Chanticleers, 6-0, 4-0 in the Sun Belt. Conway, South Carolina, 67 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Last out, South Alabama came close to finally beating Georgia Southern, but could not do it in the 24-17 loss. They were up 17-10 in the fourth. Coastal Carolina coming off a complete 51-0 beatdown of Georgia State. I was on the over in that game, and you tell me Coastal Carolina is going to put up 51 points at Georgia State. How much are we going to? How much?
Me too.
Win by? It was ridiculous. Nolly Knows Sunbelt action. What's your move?
Yeah, Sunbelt has been very good to me this year. I ended up actually taking action on all the games last week, even doubled up on some, only lost one. So
Sunbelt King.
Sunbelt is where I like to do it. This is where, and Coastal Carolina has been a big part of that. You know, I've been riding them. I love what McCall's doing over there. This is a team that scored in all but one quarter all year, and that's when McCall was out of the game, you know, and a touchdown in all but 2 quarters, you know. So an offense that has been thriving, but albeit here in this game, I expected not necessarily to sputter, but not to put up 51 points like they did against Georgia State. I thought that was a great performance. Here against South Alabama has been a great under team for me. They're 5-1 to the under. I don't know if sometimes you flip-flop that, but to me, I think that trend continues here. They've been clearing the number by quite a bit. Their offense is been sputtering when they need the big drives and they need to complete that, get that big third down conversion. Against Georgia Southern, to me, I thought they looked like the better team throughout most of that game. I thought they were live, and Georgia Southern was able to pull it off late. That's just a tradition that they're going to have to change the culture and learn how to win over there. But one thing that I do see is that their pace of play is low. They're running about 68 plays per game, a little bit lower here recently. And Coastal Carolina, albeit they put up 51 last week, but before that, just 28, 30, more so indicative of what I think I would see. And their defense has been lights out. You know, you see their total points against just keeps on dropping at 18. We started off at 22, and even I thought those were inflated because of the garbage points that they had been giving up. The defense has been lights out, very physical up front. And to me, I just think this total is just a tad bit too high at 55, and I smacked that pretty good.
Yeah.
Smack that pretty good. The under 55 for Nolly Knows. Let's move over to CMac, Jaguars, Chanticleers.
Yeah, I've been Coastal Carolina all year long since the first game with Kansas. They beat them, and I love it. But I was on that over with you, Jimmy, and I can't believe they didn't score. But Coastal Carolina, I watched the whole game. Their defense played great, and they one fucking score drove me crazy. But and I don't see South Alabama moving it that much here. If they scored 17 against Georgia Southern, I was on that under too, Nolly. I'm on the under 55.5 here as well. The spread's a little, I mean, it's at 17. I think they cover that too. There was some 16.5. It's gone a few hours ago. They're all 17.5. But I'm definitely on the under here, 55.5.
Another move towards the under. John Ryan, a little Sunbelt, Fun Belt action. You making a move?
Coastal Carolina. I think I said it last week that the team just seems to be getting better and better each week, and with more and more confidence. And you know, how can you go against that playing South Alabama? You know, I think it's foregone conclusion that Coastal Carolina will score 28 points. They're 17-4 over the last 5 seasons when they've done that. And they're 10-1 when they gain 6.5 or more total yards per play. And I can't imagine South Alabama being able to have the defense to change what I just said. One or two of those things or both are going to happen.
South Alabama has had a nice year for themselves getting out of the cellar, but this is a tough matchup. Number 15th ranked Coastal Carolina. All right, the final game on the board. I'm really excited to hear Nolly talk because we haven't talked about the Pac-12, and it's difficult when we haven't seen these teams. Huskies at California Golden Bears, and it gets cold in Berkeley at night for California. 54 Fahrenheit clear, 9 miles per hour. This is the last spot on the board here, and Nolly wanted to – I mean, there is New Mexico, Hawaii, but for our panels of experts, what the games they wanted to talk about. California, 1-point favorites. This total just at 46. Nolly Knows. Take it away. A little Pac-12 action for you.
Yeah, a lot of question marks over here in the Pac-12, and like a lot of Pac-12 teams, the Washington Huskies are replacing a top quarterback. Last year they finished 8-5 overall, just 4-5 in the Pac-12, but their defense was the strong suit, and they bring back 7 starters back from that defense. There's only giving up 19 points per game, only allowing 126 yards on the ground, 222 yards passing. And the big thing going into this year is that they're no more with Chris Peterson. The Chris Peterson era is over. But one key thing that I look at as who takes over, and that's going to be their DB coach, their strength of their team and the defense. And that's what I love to see. So I expect their defense to continue to be their focal point, and their offense only returning 4 offensive starters. They're going to struggle. That's what I would expect here. For the Golden Bears, for the Cal side, they actually have a lot of returners. So you look, they returned 10 offensive starters, but that's a team that only managed to score 21 points per game, only picked up 131 yards on the ground, 197 through the air. Not a team that really plays with a lot of pace. A team that likes to run the ball is a run-first offense. You look at the trends between these two teams. The under is 4-1 in their last 5 meetings. You look at the games of the last 2 years. It was 20-19 ball game. In Washington, in Cal in 2018, it was a 10-12 ball game. That's just the style of play that's indicative for these two teams, and a lot of familiarity. I'd expect a lot of the same things out of Cal, and for Washington, their defense is still going to be legit. A lot of question marks on the offense, and I like the under.
The under for Nolly Knows. Nice breakdown in Pac-12 opening week action. CMac, you're out in Vegas. You know these Pac-12 teams well. What do you think of the spot here?
Yeah, I'd lean the under a little bit here. It's all about, Nolly said, Cal bringing back all those players. Chase Garbers, they got their offensive line. Most of it's all coming back. Can they score, though? I mean, they scored 30 or more twice last year. Can it start getting clicking? I don't know. I'd lean a little bit on the under. And Washington, I think they'll be solid as well. I see both of these teams 7-5, 8-4 here in the Pac-12. So that's just my look. I've been breaking them down kind of all today, and I'll go on all week, even more coming up to this week. But I lean a little bit with Nolly on the under here until I could see a little offense, even from both sides. I got to lean under.
And lean towards the under. John Ryan, a bow on this matchup out west, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific start. Huskies, Golden Bears.
The real problem with this matchup is I agree with the returning start is a huge advantage for California. I've talked about that a lot. When you have 18 or more coming back against an opponent that has 12 or less, which is this matchup, I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure it hits at 63%. Just blindly doing that for the first 4 weeks of the season. It gets better if you have the whole offensive line intact as well. The problem I have with doing that now is that we're in November and this is week 1 for them when other teams like in the ACC have played 8-9 games. So I don't know how to handicap that. And I learned a valuable lesson in the Big Ten trying to think that I knew those teams as well as I normally do in this COVID year that we're in.
Yeah.
So it's a tough call to just rely on that because for the obvious reason. But if I had a lean, it would be on Cal.
I had to lean beyond Cal. Great job, you guys. Thank you for fighting the good fight for us.
Real quick, Jimmy.
Yeah,
everyone keep the COVID. Watch it. It burned me, with Temple. They had to get to their third string quarterback. That over I had, and I was already in. I put it out to everyone. I had it, so watch this stuff. And a lot of these college coaches, depending on the team, are holding everything right till game time. They're not giving out who's in, who's out. So you got to look at these teams through right before a kickoff if there's kids with COVID and not. So it's definitely a weird year. So just throwing out there, keep watching all the way up till Saturday here, or during the week games too. All these games.
Oh no, well put, CMac. All right, now let's quickly go to best bets for Saturday's action. So we're going to start back with Nolly Knows. So his best bet on Wednesday, Kent State. His best bet on Thursday. Friday action is the San Jose State, San Diego State under. He also likes BYU. Saturday, best bet, Nolly.
Saturday best bet is going to be a South Alabama, Coastal Carolina under 55.
South Ala under 55. Beautiful. CMac, your best bet on Wednesday was the Ball State over. Your best bet Thursday, Friday was also that San Jose State, San Diego State under. What is your best bet Saturday?
I don't really have one right now. Can I give you one in a little bit?
Yeah, no problem. No problem. But yeah, let me know so I can tweet out your best bet Saturday.
I will.
And then John Ryan, Buffalo -11 is your best bet on Wednesday. Wyoming -4, your best bet Thursday, Friday. Who's your best bet Saturday?
Iowa State. Going to ride that 12-0 system.
Iowa State is best bet for John Ryan. Great job, you guys. Thank you for fighting the good fight with us.
Good, Jimmy.
And anybody who's watching this show, remember that if you want to see it again in any replays, you have to go. It's going to be exclusively on odds.com. We got nothing without these great guys in chat. Thank you so much for hanging with us, your insights, your humor, everything. Memphis 10's best bet is Marshall first half. Paco Healy liking Wyoming. Rude Jude, Maxwell Smart, Dennis Garcia, Dan Kelly, Boogie Maine, the real Jolly Roger, Gerald Martinez, Robert Allen, Beach Boss, Michael Ervalina. All you guys, thank you so much for your support. Andrew Carr, Pineapple Cook, love it. And to our experts, Nolly Knows, John Ryan, Connor Mack, thank you guys for fighting the good fight today. This is a great show. Let's get paid. Let's get paid. Need to get paid. The looks on Monday put me in a hole from last week, and then I got out of it. But I'd much rather go into Sunday up a ton of money and not sweating buckets alone with my shirt off and a bottle in my hand. Thank you, guys. Let's have a big day. Thank you to our experts. Thank you to everybody watching at home. Good luck this week. Get paid in full. CMac, you want to let us out of here?
All righty. Leche, a los bookmakers.